Hello everyone, Marvel DC Fan here with another episode of the Speaking Nerd podcast, talking about all things comics, movies, TV, video games, yada yada yada. So this past Friday, the guys did a news update kind of thing, going through some pieces of news. It was my list I gave them, so they talked about the whole Henry Cavill thing and the Spider-Verse trailer, which, if you want to get my thoughts kind of out of the way, I can quickly talk about it. But yeah, so this episode, I just kind of wanted to talk about some more news that came out, some interesting pieces of news that, just kind of caught my eye. And some stuff which I'm surprised I didn't put on the list. I just kind of just sent to them and whatever. So before we get into the list that I have written down right now, I just wanted to quickly talk about the news from yesterday and just kind of give you my thoughts on them. And yeah, I was thinking of doing one, doing not a podcast episode, but just a rant, kind of thing over on my channel about Henry Cavill. But, yeah, I don't think that's really all that necessary. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go through the list. I'm going to save Henry Cavill for a segment later, but I'm just running down the others. So the Spider-Verse trailer, fantastic. I love everything about it. I watched it 10 times that day. It was amazing. Can't wait for it. Game Awards, it was, your standard Game Awards. I'm glad that God of War Ragnarok won all the awards it did. Christopher Judge gave an amazing speech. A very long but amazing speech at the very beginning. As far as announcements, I'm excited for Kevin Conroy to be voicing Batman, his last turn as Batman in Suicide Squad. The new Hellboy game looks amazing. Star Wars looks good. I'm trying to think of some other announcements that came out. Transformers, that was a weird one because I was not expecting a new Transformers game or something that looked that serious. It was off-putting. So, getting into the rest of the list, the God of War Amazon series, I am looking forward to. Cory Barlog is producing it, which he was the director of the 2018 game, and it seems like they're doing Norse mythology for the show, which I get, seeing as how popular the recent games have been. I'm just hoping that if you're going to cast anybody as Kratos, my pick would be Christopher Judge from the games. He loves that character, and, I want to see him play it, a real-life version of Kratos, so that'd be amazing. Last of Us Part 3 is, if it does happen, it happens. I'm hoping it's a lot better than Part 2 was, because Part 2, oh boy, I have my feelings on Part 2. And not good ones. But yeah, if it does happen, like I said, it happens. Scream 6 trailer, I did not watch it in full. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, so that I'll have to take a rain check on. And then the Gen V trailer, I really do like The Boys. I like that universe, so I'm tempted to check it out when it happens, but I'm mainly just waiting for season 4 at this point. And also, last thing I messaged them from the list was James Gunn writing the script for the new Superman movie, which is going to be about a younger Clark Kent. And I guess that kind of gets into some stuff I have later. So as of right now, I'll say that I'm very interested in it. All right, let's get into some stuff that I found interesting right off the bat. So Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2 has a release window. Yeah. So, Marvel Spider-Man 2, it was announced back in 2021. Yeah, at the PlayStation Showcase. And that trailer was phenomenal. I fucking love that trailer. Every once in a while I'll go back and watch it. I'm just super hyped for that game. I'm super hyped to see Kraven and Venom. Like, it's going to be a good time for sure. And we got a leak a few days ago, or a day before the announcement came, from one of the writers, or one of the staff at Insomniac. She wrote in her personal blog that the game would be releasing fall 2023. And we just got confirmation earlier, the same day the Spider-Verse trailer came out. Or either that day or the day afterwards, that yes, the game will be coming out fall 2023, and no specific dates, but it's in that window of time. So my guess would be late September, early October, maybe. I think the end of October is just kind of pushing it to the max. So I'm going to say probably early October. I mean, Venom's in the game, and that's kind of scary. So, but yeah. I can't wait to play this. Since I have a PlayStation 5 now, it's going to be like day one purchase for me. And yeah, I'm going to be playing the ever-loving shit out of it. Like, I'm probably just going to go platinum in a week or something like that. I'm going to be so enthralled. I'm hoping it fixes a lot of the, smaller stuff, some of the issues I had with the previous two. And, it's looking like it's going to be the best one so far. I honestly think we're going to get a trilogy here, because I think after they do the whole Venom storyline, Green Goblin's going to be teased at the end, and then he'll be the villain for the last game. So, kind of predictable, but, I feel that's just the natural progression, because you don't want to squeeze Green Goblin at the end of Spider-Man 2. Like, who do you save for the next one? Even if they do a next one, which is probably the case. This isn't another God of War Ragnarok situation where it's basically two games thrown into one. So, I love God of War Ragnarok, but yeah. I'm super excited. Like, there's not much else to say about it. I cannot wait for this game. I'm hoping we get a trailer at some point soon. I feel like that's the case. Maybe the end of January, early February, I see the possibility of a trailer happening. Whether they do it at a State of Play or, a PlayStation Showcase, just have something for that. And, yeah, Wolverine we already know that game is going to be quite a ways away, so I'm glad that we're getting something from Insomniac this year, or next year, I should say. It's going to be fucking awesome. I'm counting on it. So the next piece of news is actually another Spider-Man related project. And this is probably like the weirdest piece of news I've seen in a bit. So Sony's habit of making Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man continues, because besides the Mexican wrestler one that they're doing a movie about the fucking Hypno Hustler. It's just the three people who in the audience know who that is. Or maybe nobody knows who that is. But, so Hypno Hustler, I haven't read any comics with him in there, but, I guess a prominent figure of, like, 70s Spider-Man comics. Or something like that. I want to say he was created in that time. But, yeah, so Donald Glover from Community and who plays Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming, he's going to be producing and maybe starring in it. Starring as the Hypno Hustler, which, I mean, I really like Donald Glover, but this is just like, you're looking at this being like, Sony, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You own one of the most popular, like, superheroes of all time. You know, you're letting him in the MCU, which that looks to be, you know, a recipe for success as far as the end of No Way Home is concerned. You have a stellar, like, animated Spider-Man movie and an upcoming sequel, which is going to be a banger for sure. And you're still doing these really terrible, like, movies about villains nobody gives a shit about. Like, okay, Venom is one thing because Venom is interesting enough to have a movie based around him. Like, I don't think a character like Doc Ock or Green Goblin can really, like, fill a full runtime just with them. You know, they need to interact with somebody like Spider-Man or whatnot. But Venom is an interesting case where he just kind of became his own character after his creation. You know, they did him as a villain. Then they went off and did the whole Lether Protector thing. And for a good majority, like, he barely interacted with Spider-Man. So, yeah, it's just, like, Sony is just setting themselves up for failure. Like, it almost feels intentional at this point. It feels like a joke. Like, it's like, oh, what's Sony cooking up this time? Oh, we're going to do the fucking Hypno Hustler. Because that's the most famous, like, comic book supervillain we can pull from Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, right? And also, Morbius was a success for the memes. Like, yeah, so I'm not excited for this at all. I mean, I really like Donald Glover, but I don't have faith in Sony. They're just going to do something to mess this up even more. If the prior Spider-Man projects are the case, Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man series, it just seems like Sony can't be trusted by themselves. So, yeah, probably not going to watch this. I didn't bother watching Morbius in theaters. I have watched it since it was in theaters, but I didn't want to pay money to go see Jared Leto act like a fucking idiot. So, yeah, not interested in Kraven the Hunter, not interested in this Luchador one, which I can't remember the name of, and now we got the Hypno Hustler, which is not looking good. So, probably just going to skip on that one. Alright, next up, Joker 2. So they just started filming recently. Todd Phillips, you know, he's back in the director's seat. Of course, you got Joaquin, you got Lady Gaga, and they released a photo from day one. And yeah, I'm okay. So when the news came out, because this is gonna make me sound like an asshole, but like when they announced that Joker 2 was happening, I was not interested. I think that the first movie works so well on its own. It can be its own thing. It can only be one, like, it works so well as just one movie. And I thought that making a whole series out of it just wouldn't be good. You know, if they kept doing more sequels down the line and, you know, turning this into its all, like, whole thing, like, it just wouldn't work. You know, something like the Batman I could see as, like, a trilogy, but something like a Joker solo movie, I don't imagine would work too well for, you know, just as a series on its own. So, but they announced it. They showed the title. They showed that, you know, they did that teaser with Joaquin and Lady Gaga, the silhouettes. And that is the point where my views kind of shifted a bit, where I'm still not thrilled at the idea, but I'm cautiously very cautiously optimistic about it. And it does look like for this one, it still has that kind of dark sensibility about it that the first one did. Like, I can feel that movie's atmosphere still being kept tight for this new one, which was what I was hoping for. I was hoping that I was going to keep the very depressing stigma that the first movie had. Because if it didn't, then, it just wouldn't have worked too well. But, yeah. So, I don't know. I might see it. Part of me just wants to wait till the reviews come out, which I'm sure that it's going to be positive regardless. But, yeah, it was a good photo to, kind of tease us in to what they're doing, and hopefully the musical aspect works. I know a lot of people were very concerned when they heard that, but I think it's just because, when you think musical nowadays, you think of like just Cats or just type of musical like that. Just a very bad, whatever kind of thing. And it felt like for this one, they're not really going in that direction where all of a sudden they'll just start breaking out into song. Like, it felt very vaudevillian, which was interesting. So, yeah. Cautiously, very optimistic. I'm going to wait for a trailer. And if that's any good, then maybe, start throwing some more positive outlook on this movie. And, as far as when we'll get a trailer, that's tough. I want to say around, at the very least, as far as like teasers go, probably late March, early April, around that time. I'm just going to throw it on the limb and say that. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Then, just move on to whatever's happening next. Okay, so next, I want to talk about Henry Cavill because dude's just been through the ringer over this last week. Now, the guys gave their thoughts on it, and I kind of wanted to share my own. I'm very mixed about it because I can see the direction that James Gunn's going. Taking a fresh new outlook on the DC universe. A hard reboot. Starting fresh, which is something that DC kind of needed. Because their movies just kind of turned into, even with all the good ones, like that universe just felt like a clusterfuck. And it kept being that way, even with more projects and stuff happening, like timelines not really adding up and all this confusion. So the fact that they're taking a step back and saying, okay, like we're going to do a hard reset, start fresh with new characters, like new reinventions. Like, I can totally get behind that. I can totally get down with it. But the problem that I'm having is that, they brought Henry back for Black Adam. He did his cameo. Everybody was super excited. Not too long afterwards, they made the big announcement, like, hey, Henry Cavill, is coming back. He's going to play Superman again. It's a bright future ahead, and all of it was looking really good. Does it suck that he had to quit The Witcher for it? Kind of, and that show's probably going to, not be as good with Liam Hemsworth. So, yeah, that happened, and 2 months later, they did say they sat down and they had a very respectable conversation. There was no bad blood between them, which part of me is kind of like, apprehensive towards that, because I remember the Ruby Rose situation and how much of a shitstorm that turned into months later. But, you know, if they said it was a good conversation between James Gunn and Henry Cavill and all all was well, and you know I could totally get behind that. But I just would have liked to at least seen him one movie. That's like, and that kind of like leads in the point of like my next thing I want to talk about with Henry Cavill involving the Flash and some other stuff. But like the dude quit The Witcher to play Superman again. Like, you could tell that he loves that character, and he wants to do a fantastic job with it, but now that opportunity is just kind of taken. And that sucks, man. I feel really bad for Henry Cavill right now. Even though he said, respect to them and whatnot, it's just, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. Like after what happened with, Justice League and the kind of shitstorm that kind of circulated for years on end, and all that, like, you just want the dude to have a break, and it's a shame. So hopefully at some point we get a No Way Home Andrew Garfield situation where he'll come back for some multiverse endeavor. He'll put on the cape once more and, have some screen time, like just something. But so, actually, before I talk about, some other canceled DC stuff, I want to mention that he's involved with they're developing a Warhammer series over at Amazon, and he's involved in the creative process, which, props to him for getting some kind of work. Because I didn't imagine him him going back to The Witcher after what happened, and that's set in stone. Liam Hemsworth is there to stay for the rest of The Witcher, and so I'm glad that he's getting some work, in the time between now and whatever Warhammer comes out. But he's very passionate about Warhammer, so I'm glad that he's involved in another project he's passionate about. If there's anything else I want to see him in, it's like I would love to see him as James Bond. Like, I think he could really pull that off and just be like fantastic. But so he's doing Warhammer, and then some news came out about some reported stuff about the Man of Steel 2 script that was happening. Apparently Brainiac was going to be the villain, which would have been kind of interesting to see. Yeah, because I feel like just that Superman mythos is not great. I mean, that's an understatement. Like, for all the faults that we give Snyder and stuff, like in that version of Superman in particular, like Henry Cavill can still be a really good actor, even with really terrible material. So, yeah, but, yeah, so also some news came out about some reported stuff involving the Flash movie, in that, Henry Cavill filmed a cameo along with Gal Gadot, and both of those cameos are reportedly getting cut. So, which is kind of a shame because, since Wonder Woman 3 isn't happening, which I'll get into here in a second, that would have been another instance where, like, I would have liked to see Henry one last time. Like, just for the Flash movie, I talked about this a little bit because we streamed the Game Awards, or I did on my channel, and I had the others with me. I was talking to Swifty, and I was just like, maybe they could do some reshoots for the Flash where it's not so much like, an in-universe reboot. Just make it an ending. Just cap off that series of films or something. So then, James, you know, then those characters can have a satisfying conclusion if that movie turns out to be good. They can have a satisfying payoff. Then, James Gunn can go ahead with this new DC universe that he's doing with, a new Superman, Jason Momoa as Lobo. They can do their thing, and, the fans, those particular fans of those versions of the characters can have their appropriate ending. So, yeah. All right, so talk about a couple more DC related things that I have some stuff to say. The first one I want to mention is Wonder Woman 3. It's not happening. Patty Jenkins is out. She did her script for the movie or whatnot, or draft or whatever. They didn't like it, so she just, left. She's not doing it. They're not doing Wonder Woman 3, and it seems like Gal Gadot is pretty much out at this point for Wonder Woman. And, yeah. So, it's kind of a shame seeing this, these characters that we've been sort of invested in over, like, the past nearly a decade. Just kind of, like, slowly start to disintegrate and fall apart into pieces. And I would have liked to see what they were going to do with Wonder Woman 3. I know Wonder Woman 84 wasn't the best, and I didn't think it was the best either, but like it still had some really fun stuff to it, even with its very convoluted plot and whatnot, and disappointing characters and all that. Like, there was still potential there for, future Wonder Woman movies. And the fact that we're not going to get, the finished thing with Patty is kind of a bummer. But speaking of real bummers, let's talk about the Michael Keaton Batman movie, which was reportedly going to be Batman Beyond. Oh boy. This one I would have been really, really anxious to see, because I love Michael Keaton's representation of Batman. And talk about another guy that I feel really terrible for, especially right now, because, they announced him as Batman coming back for The Flash. That's good and all. That's great. And then they say he's going to be the Batman for the DC universe going forward. That is kind of, in my eyes at the time, I was just like, I'm not really feeling it. Especially if he's going to be running around in costume, even though Michael Keaton is like, 70, 80 years old, something like that. He's not fit for that kind of thing. So, and then, his Batman just slowly just died off in other projects. I mean, he's probably still going to be in The Flash for sure, but, he was in Batgirl, that got cut. He filmed a cameo or like an end credits thing for Aquaman, that's getting cut too. And they replaced it with Ben Affleck, which that is probably going to get cut also. So, yeah, there's just a lot like that's like falling apart from Michael Keaton. And also the fact that even on the Marvel side, like he played the Vulture, which was great. And then he shows up in Morbius. Like, why? So, yeah, this is just like a really bad time for Michael Keaton right now. Michael Keaton, Henry Cavill, all that thing. It sucks for me because, like, I'm a really big fan of the two Tim Burton movies, and we never really got, like, full closure. So hopefully, like, maybe if they're going to go ahead with this whole reboot thing, maybe they can work some stuff around The Flash. And like I said, I'd rather The Flash be an ending for that universe rather than just, them being like, okay, this is the new status quo and all that. But Yeah, it's kind of a mess, and I am not like. There's a lot to unpack for sure, especially in the span of like this past year, because we had so much going for us, we had so much to look forward to, and now it's just kind of like all falling apart in front of our very eyes. Like, do you remember back in, I think it was January, they did a teaser for what 2022 would be, and it was like, or like the future of DC, whatnot. It would be like the Batman, Black Adam, the Flash, and other movies that were happening. And it was like, it was really fun, and a ton of stuff to look forward to. And now it's just all kind of like, it's just not, it's not happening, not the way that they wanted to. Even with The Rock, because it seems like he's kind of out of it now with DC. He's done with all the creative stuff that they're doing. The fact that they offered him a cameo in Shazam, and he turned it down. That's what really pissed me off, was because like his attitude towards Shazam, who is Shazam, or Black Adam is a Shazam villain, or Captain Marvel, whatever. But his villain is not like Black Adam. His antagonist, like his villain, is not fucking Superman. That's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know. There's a ton of stuff at DC that is a thing. So apparently we're gonna get some announcement from James Gunn next year about what their 10-year plan is, and I'm really curious to see what that is. I don't know if that was a rumor or whatnot. If it is true, then I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I'm just hoping, and I know this was already debunked, but I'm more like, they already said the Batman wasn't connected. They debunked that, but I'm more just worried because of Warner Brothers money grubbing fingers, and I'm not happy. I'm not thrilled about it. But anyway, in the comments section down below, tell me your thoughts on everything that's going on with DC and also Marvel, Sony, whatever the case. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be it for me. Not sure what next week's video is, but I'm sure we'll think of something. If more news comes out from DC and all that, we're probably going to talk about it. And, yeah. I'm trying to get an episode together that'll be released later on in December. So more on that will come, hopefully. But anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Be sure to follow me on all my social media and all the social media for the Speaking Nerd podcast members and whatnot. And also, we have a Instagram and Twitter for Speaking Nerd itself. So, yeah, that's fun. Have a great night. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to take care of yourselves. See ya.